Moscow orders the Russian army to attack, targeting a new city. Ukraine announces an armored assault. Details. Proposal to Putin. 2 European plans published, how they were rewritten and what they promised the Kremlin, all the details of the talks in Switzerland. Is Ukraine happy? Has Zelensky been called on to resign? In the US, talk has begun of calming the world and Ukrainians through domestic elections. Slovakia wants a Russian-controlled Ukraine on its doorstep, an international scandal stemming from the country's defense ministry's statement. Bezrukov apologizes. The Brigada star offended Uzbek citizens by mocking their accent. What did he say in defense? She gave birth at 5. The story of a girl who was hospitalized with a tumor, only to find out she was pregnant. This and more, watch to the end. Hello everyone, this is Vremya Pryadko, short, clear, and to the point about what the world is talking about. We need your support right now, please press like, and I'll begin. An international scandal. Ukraine should be completely under Russia's control. This statement was made by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine's neighbor, Slovakia. The State Secretary of the Defense Ministry saw this as a major advantage for Bratislava. Meleher clearly stated his position: Ukraine within its pre-2014 borders, but under complete Russian influence, is an excellent plan for his country. Igor Meleher, State Secretary of the Slovakian Ministry of Defense, said, "It would be good for Slovakia if Ukraine remained within its pre-2014 borders, but completely under Russian influence, so that we would have access to cheap energy and receive transit fees. This would be best for Slovakia." Meleher's opponents stated that in such a case, no investors would want to cooperate with Slovakia if a Kremlin-controlled country were right next door. The Ukrainian Foreign Ministry called on Slovaks to be consistent in their statements, thanked the people for their support, and asked not to confuse who is the victim and who is the aggressor, according to an official statement from the country's foreign ministry. Such statements are nothing more than a repetition of Russian propaganda, a manipulation of facts, an infringement on Ukraine's sovereignty, and a deliberate disregard for the spirit of good neighborliness and partnership between our countries, which was reflected, among other things, during the latest, 3rd round of Ukrainian-Slovak intergovernmental consultations in Košice. The Russian army is attempting to take control of territory in the Donetsk region. Troops have launched new attacks, with assaults underway in Pokrovsk. Ukrainian military officials claim that Russian forces are advancing toward the city center. The Ukrainian armed forces are returning fire, and Russian forces are blocked, according to a statement from the Ukrainian military. This has blocked Russian attempts to amass forces, which are unsuccessfully trying to increase pressure on the northern part of the city. Any attempt to cross the railroad into the northern part of the city causes the enemy to suffer maximum losses. Meanwhile, the monitoring channel Deep State reports that the Russians are making progress in Pokrovsk. Changes in the front line can be seen on a map maintained by analysts. Meanwhile, Z-bloggers claim that an assault on another city has begun, in the south of the country. The Russian army has advanced on Huliapol. Timofey Ermakov, Z-blogger, according to operational reports, assault operations have begun in Huliapol from the northeast and southeast, from Rivnopilya and Marfapol. Our troops are also breaking through strongholds south of Dorozhnyenka. The defense forces of southern Ukraine confirmed yesterday that assault operations are underway. The Russian side is attempting to advance with armored vehicles. However, Ukraine claims that such attacks have been repelled. In the Huliapol sector, Ukrainian defenders repelled 15 attacks by the occupiers near the villages of Zeleny High, Zadashai, Vysok, and toward the village of Pryluki. 2 more clashes are ongoing. Zelensky may urgently fly out of Ukraine as early as this week. He will visit the United States. The goal is to finalize a peace plan. The condition is agreement and understanding on both sides. This is reported by the Western press. The talks in Geneva, which took place yesterday, were hastily organized and were an attempt by the Europeans to modify the previously published American plan, which had already been called a plan for Ukraine's capitulation. Thus, the first phase of the negotiations between the US and Ukraine was successful. The State Department stated that progress has been made and the interests of all parties are being taken into account. Marco Rubio, U.S. Secretary of State, and, of course, there's also the Russian side. But we believe that over the past 9 months, we've gained a significant understanding of what's truly important to them. So the bottom line is this. This was a very, very meaningful meeting, probably the best we've had in the entire process since we took office in January. Yermak, who led the Ukrainian delegation, also stated that good progress had been made. Andriy Yermak, head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, we're making very good progress, and we're moving toward a just and lasting peace. The Ukrainian people deserve this peace and want it more than anyone on the planet. We thank our great friends, the United States and, personally, President Trump and his team, for their commitment to bringing this peace. After the initial press conference, the parties retreated again, this time to separate offices, to make adjustments and changes. Meanwhile, 2 new Y plans proposed by Ukraine's European allies were leaked online. One of them now has 24 points, not 28. So, a quick rundown, a complete ceasefire, to be monitored by the United States among others. Russia must return all deported Ukrainian children, the plan states, and exchange all prisoners of war and civilians. After the ceasefire stabilizes, humanitarian steps will be taken, including family visits across the front line. Ukraine's sovereignty is confirmed, imposed neutrality is ruled out, and security guarantees from the United States will be provided, including those similar to NATO's Article 5. No restrictions on the Ukrainian armed forces or the Ukrainian military-industrial complex. Guarantees from the EU and other willing states will be provided. Ukraine will independently decide on the presence of friendly troops on its territory. NATO membership will be by consensus of the alliance, EU membership will be confirmed. Ukraine will remain 5 minutes and 57 seconds to 6 minutes and 25 seconds. A non-nuclear state. Territorial issues will be discussed after a complete ceasefire. Negotiations will begin from the current line of control. Border changes by force are prohibited. Ukraine will regain control of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant with U.S. support, and the Kakhovka Dam. Free navigation on the Dnieper River and control over the Kinban Spit will be guaranteed. Ukraine will be fully restored and receive financial compensation, including from Russian sovereign assets, which will remain frozen until Ukraine is compensated. Sanctions imposed against Russia since 2014 may be gradually and partially eased after a lasting peace is achieved and reinstated in the event of a violation of the agreement, snapback. At the same time, Reuters also published a European plan, which already contained differences from the Telegraph version. For example, regarding the size of the Ukrainian armed forces, Reuters already reports that it will be limited to 8 lakh during peacetime.